Let us discuss the criticisms for scarcity definition. Now, what are the criticisms? The first one is it gives a narrow view of economics. So, Robbins' definition has been criticized on the ground that it regards economics as a positive science by making it neutral between ends. But economists at present time regards economics as not only a positive science but normative also. Now here you have to understand the difference between positive science and normative science, and after that you'll be able to understand this point very clearly. So, when we talk about positive science, it describes and explains various economic phenomenon or the what is scenario. Now, what does it mean? In case of positive economics, it states the fact. Okay, it is more objective and it states something which cannot be approved or disapproved. Okay, because it is stating what is the actual scenario and what is the fact. Now, when we talk about normative economics, it actually focuses on the value of economic fairness or what the economy should be or ought to be. Now, what does that mean? That it tells us what should we do and what should happen, right? So in case of what should happen, we are actually passing value judgments, and we are looking at it from a subjective point of view, because if we are talking about value judgments, it changes from person to person. For one person one thing could be right, for the other person that same thing could be wrong. So this particular thing, which is normative economics or normative science, actually tells us or answers the question of what should happen or what ought to be, right? So that is the difference between positive and normative economics. An example would make you understand this better. So for example, if we talk about positive economics, so it is neutral between ends and it is not passing any value judgment, it is not based on value judgment. So if we talk about law of demand, for example, so law of demand, what does it say? It says other things remaining equal, if price of a commodity is increasing, quantity demanded for the same commodity will fall down. Now that is, this fact cannot be disapproved. This is a fact, all right, that if other things, all the other variables which are affecting demand are kept to be constant, then the price and quantity demanded will have a negative relationship. Now let us take one example for normative economics also. So if, for example, if somebody says that because the unemployment in a country is increasing, so government should uh, give unemployment and allowance to the people who are unemployed. All right. So in case of India, now this is something which is based on value judgment. You are actually advising to do something because of one given situation. Now there could be many other solutions to increasing unemployment rate, right? One could criticize this particular point on the basis that if the government starts giving unemployment allowance to unemployed people, then it will put a heavy burden on government's expenditure, right? Already increasing fiscal deficit, it will put a heavy burden on government's expenditure. So we should not give unemployment allowance in India, of course, right? So that is normative economics, normative science, where we are actually saying something which is subjective, which varies from person to person. So according, now let us get back to the point that we were discussing, that was narrow view of economics. Now in narrow view of economics, Robbins is regarding economics or considering economics only as a positive science. Okay, he is saying that yes, economics gives us different theories and different laws which could help us solve various economic problems, but it is not considering economics as a normative science, but economics is a normative science also. How? Because it is directly related to human behavior, and human behavior itself changes from time to time, from place to place. So how can we say? And also economics helps us solve variety of economic problems, right? Like unemployment, like inequality of income. So these problems can be solved only by normative science, right? By the, because these problems are based on value judgments. So that is the first point, which is narrow view of economics. Next is restricted subject matter of economics. So Robbins has restricted the subject matter of economics to the theory of resource allocation. It is inadequate because it does not focus on other important issues like unemployment, economic instability, income determination, growth and development, etc. So here, according to Robbins, the scope of economics is restricted to theory of resource allocation, because Robbins is only talking about scarcity, but it is not talking about other economic issues like unemployment, income determination, growth, development, etc. Next is it is a static definition. Now when we say static definition, it means that it is just talking about present generation, right? It has only discussed about present generation and nothing about the future generation has been discussed. That means it is not actually discussing economic growth, efficiency of inputs, etc. So it is a static definition. Next is economic problem may not always arise from scarcity. Now, most of the economic problems are arising because of scarcity, but sometimes it might happen that economic problems are arising not because of scarcity but because of abundance of resources or abundance of goods. All right, so this happened during the Great Depression of the 1930s in the USA. Now वहाँ पर क्या हुआ था? वहाँ पर because the Great Depression का क्या मतलब होता है? Great Depression is a time period in a business cycle or trade cycle where your economic activity is at its lowest. Now when we talk about economic activity, it means we are talking about output, income and employment, yes, and employment. So these three things are at the lowest. All right, so when these three things are in the lowest, at the lowest, that means that there is no demand but there is a lot of supply of goods, right? And this supply was actually creating problem at that time. So here scarcity was not a problem, rather abundance was a problem. Next is economics as a science. Now Robbins is regarding economics as a science only, but he is not considering economics as a art. But economics is neither a pure science nor it is a pure art. All right, so according to Robbins, he is considering economics as a pure science that is concerned with the formulation of economic laws only. But economists these days believe that economics not only gives us different laws, but it also gives us solution to various economic problems. All right, so when we talk about solutions, then again, because these economic problems are basically human problems, right? And the solutions to it will change from person to person. So art is something which is subjective in nature, right? While science is something which is objective in nature, we get fixed and facts in case of science, right? So second is art expresses knowledge more often in the form of subjective representation, while science is the system of acquiring knowledge. Right? What does it mean that in why is economics regarded as an art? Because here different policy makers, different economists are using various tools of economics to come to a solution, and the solution changes from person to person. There is no fixed solution to any economic problem. So that is why we are saying that it is an art and it is a science also. Why? Because there are different economic laws and theories which are in economics, and likewise in science we have different laws and theories, and we have different assumptions on which these theories and laws are based. Likewise, in economics, we have the same thing. That is why we are considering economics as a science as well as an art. Okay. Next is that is all for today. In the next class, we'll discuss growth oriented definition. Thank you.